Okay, thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the City Council adjourned regular meeting, the work plan meeting, Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. Let's call the meeting to order, please.
That's what you just.
Pledge.
Yeah, that's you do the pledge next.
Oh, okay.
You
So
just
called.
did it, I
Okay.
know.
I'm sorry.
No.
All right. The pledge to the flag. Let's see who we can have lead us. Public or our Parks and Recreation Director, Mark Lehman, please.
Please place your right hand over your heart. Ready to begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Lesser?
Here.
Councilmember Napolitano?
Here.
Councilmember Montgomery?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Haworth?
Here.
Mayor Franklin?
Here. Okay. And approval of the agenda. Do I?
So moved.
So moved by Mayor Pro Tem Amy Haworth and seconded by Councilmember Richard Montgomery. Thank you. And I'll open up public comment.
I'm sorry, motion passes 5-0.
Sorry. So I'd like to open up public comments. Anybody here wish to make a public comment? Seeing none in chambers. Martha, how about on Zoom?
We have Jim Burton.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, how's everybody tonight?
Good, thank you.
Hey, just a couple questions, or a couple comments just on the work plan. And I know that Director Lee has done a great job in some of the neighborhood traffic planning stuff that we've done. But in downtown, we still have issues with delivery trucks. And I think that if there's any possibility of adding something in the work plan or adding this to the schedule for us to look at traffic issues and traffic patterns, circulation issues, we certainly have delivery trucks that are blocking alleys, a lot of traffic congestion that I'm hoping that in this next year can be part of an official effort. I know Joe Lampkin has done a great job trying to get people together, talking about how to fix the issue. I'll present a ton more pictures of recently of how many trucks are blocking alleys and stuff. But in terms of traffic calming measures, traffic circulation issues, delivery trucks blocking alleys, and trying to help us in downtown, I think that there's something here. I think there's solutions that are available. I just think everybody needs to get together, sit at a table, and understand what it is. And it's not stopping all delivery trucks at all. And it's not even necessarily the hours that I think sometimes some of the bakeries and stuff, people come in real early, they come in and get out. It's parking in the middle of the street. It's unloading on sidewalks. And it's causing a huge traffic issue in downtown. And it has, you've heard me say this before, I'm not sure where we're going to end up with the outdoor dining stuff, but certainly if there's intensification of use from restaurants, it's going to make it worse. I'm just commenting at this point in terms of the work plan that I would love to see something in the work plan from council that would address some of the traffic issues that we've got in downtown. Thank you very, very much for your time. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Burton. Moving on to item F, general business. Status of current fiscal year 2023-2024 City Council work plan and development of fiscal year 2024-2025 work plan. City Manager Mo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight is the City Council's annual work plan discussion. So tonight, George Gabriel, Assistant to the City Manager, will step us through that process. All the department heads are here to answer any questions and give input and give their perspectives on any of the existing items or any that may be added. I do want to point out, as the council knows, that the work plan are items in addition to the day-to-day work that the staff does. And so to the extent that we can keep this list manageable, that'll help us accomplish what you're asking for, but also allow day-to-day operations to continue in a normal manner. So with that, George will go over the existing work plan, talk about some of our accomplishments. The departments will get involved and as I say, give their input as well. So George?
Good evening, Mayor Franklin and members of the City Council. So tonight we'll go over the work plan and develop next year's. So first, as City Manager Mo indicated, the accomplishments and the departmental review of council and department work plan items will be done on a department basis. And so each department will have the opportunity to go over their accomplishments and items, and then thereafter we'll go over the development. So by way of timeline, tonight we're just reviewing it and developing the draft City Council work plan for next year. On May 21st, we're going to come back to you with an officially approved document for approval and adoption. And then hopefully, by virtue of the direction that we received tonight, we'll incorporate those items in the fiscal year 24-25 year budget, which is slated for approval first meeting of June 4th to be exact. So one thing you'll notice is that there's City Council work plan items and department items. And it's important to note that the City Council work plan items is items that the City Council has identified with a higher priority and items that they've specifically assigned. And those items are about 23 items ranging across 9 departments. And what you'll notice is that a lot of these items are summarized in a one-pager within your council packet. And those items require attention from multiple departments oftentimes. And so we have a cross-departmental, what we call matrix, that goes over which items intersect with other departments, and you'll find that many of those do. Second, 63 department items, which are projects and initiatives that staff is concurrently dedicating significant time and resources that are not on the City Council work plan items. So some examples of that are the Coyote Management Response Plan. Even though it's City Council directed, it's just items that hasn't made its way on the City Council work plan, but has been identified as the City Council, and therefore to make the council aware of that project, we're listing it as a department item. Another one is the Capital Improvement Program, as well as sponsored public art such as the surfboard sculpture that was initiated by the Cultural Arts Commission in the North MBBID.
Good Lord, that thing's still going?
So, with that being said, on a department basis, I'll be providing a presentation for the Management Services Department. For the purpose of this presentation, I'll only go over 3 of the 5 accomplishments that are listed here, as well as the other departments. And I wanted to highlight quickly some of those. And the first one being the city's investment in our homeless response. As you can tell, and as we've come forward before at city council meetings, the city has invested a great amount of resources, some grant funded and some general fund resources. All the while, we've also reduced expenditures. One thing that we were fortunate enough to receive was funding from the South Bay Cities Council of Governments funding, Measure H funding, which reduced our expenditures by about $40,000 on an annual basis. So enhancing service levels, but also reducing the reliance that we have on the general fund dollars. Secondly, we held 8 ribbon cutting ceremonies. Obviously, the council and public works and every department for that matter was very busy with ribbon cuttings, and a lot of time and effort goes into planning those and making sure they're held up to the standards not only of the council but of the community. Some of those include Peck Reservoir, Polywog Park Playground Equipment, the Story Walk, Fire Station Number 2, the Bruce's Beach Plaque, Catalina Classic, and the Sepulveda Bridge widening, all within the last, in the period from the last work plan update. So a lot of great events. And then lastly, we drafted and adopted an e-bike ordinance and revised the fine schedule associated with that. And so that was done over multiple meetings, and credit to the police department for heading that up, but obviously our city attorney's office was instrumental in drafting that ordinance. In terms of department work plan items, we have municipal code transparency enhancements, basically enhancing how our municipal code is displayed on the city website, as well as making our, in the future, making the coastal zone, the coastal development plan and of local coastal program. Thank you, Lisa. Local coastal program available on the city's website. The implementation of the coyote management and response plan as well. We have an item coming before council very soon on a potential trapping agreement that's going to be for council consideration. Ongoing homeless initiatives, that was marked as complete because the 5-year plan was complete by the city council, and most of those items were completed. Thereafter, we have a citywide contract management system, which we're trying to digitize our processes in order to increase efficiencies across all departments. We have employee engagement initiatives that we're embarking on in coordination with the Human Resources Department. And then we have our oversized vehicle permit program development, which will be coming back to City Council for consideration, I believe, at the March 19th meeting. And as far as council work plan items, we have 4 of them on the current council work plan. The City Council Governance Policy and Manual. Yes, we know that the item has been on the work plan for a while, but we're making headway on it. Enhancing the city website. We're refreshing the city's website. The Communications Division is heading that up, working in coordination with the City Council Subcommittee on that. Homeless Court Diversion Program. We're making headway researching how public nuisance laws could potentially be utilized, and we expect future council discussion on that fairly soon, as well as the development of guidelines concerning city advisory committees. And that actually is scheduled to come back to the City Council at the March 5th meeting, so also relatively soon. And with that being said, I can pass it on to the Finance Department. Thank you.
Thank you, George. So some of our accomplishments, I'm going to highlight a couple of these for last year. The first one being the Prop 218 special mail ballot election was a council work plan from last February. We had a total of about 10 public meetings, including 3 finance subcommittee meetings, residential survey, engineering report, communication professional, and lots of public outreach. The storm drain measure passed, and City Council adopted a resolution certifying the results and introducing an ordinance to adjust the storm drain fee with the 25 fiscal year. Another one that I wanted to highlight, we obtained our reimbursements from FEMA, a total of $194,719. This is a huge feat. We started this in September of 2020 when we had the first opportunity to do it. Take some man hours out of our purchasing, and they're very much on it. As of today, we've had about 12 different project managers over the last 2.5 years. And we're fortunate enough to have received this $194,000, and we have about another $600,000 pending that we understand that are in final review. And just checking with some of my colleagues around the South Bay, very minimal money is coming to them because, again, you have to put forth the effort, and staff's done a wonderful job doing that. Moving on to department work plans. I'm going to tie the first 2 together. Our technology implementation for financial software programs. This is called the ERP. We're in our final year of this. This is year 4, and we have one last large financial module to implement, which is licensing, and we'll start that in June, and we're hoping to end up by November to launch our business license renewal season in February of 25. Since it's been about 4 years, there's some upgrades to financials at our cashiering software, as well as you would with any technology. Upgrades come with it. If you have a smartphone, you know how many times you have to upgrade. This is a larger scale. We don't do every single upgrade. We wait for a major upgrade. And doing an upgrade to a financial system or a cashiering system develops a lot of mapping and man hours to do, because you just got to make sure it's functioning before you turn it back on. So there's about 2 to 3 months of testing that we do. So our next item, a few weeks ago, we released a request for proposal. It's for a comprehensive user fee study and cost allocation plan. It's best practice to do one of those every about 4 to 5 years. Last time we did it was 2019. It takes about 6 months process, and it involves every department. We hope to have this to the Finance Subcommittee in September and to City Council by November. And the fees would go into effect about 60 days, 30 to 60 days past the public hearing that we have with City Council. At the same time, we are extending our audit contract, which went through the Finance Subcommittee on the 6th of February, and it's coming to City Council in March. Our citywide grant project tracking program is to create a grant fund going forward with a new fiscal year. Currently, grants are decentralized. Each department manages their own grants and any associated audits. The goal is to create a centralized grant review and documentation with a financial focus and assist departments with grant audits. This will enable the city to have better record keeping as well as grant management. And the last item, this is something very important to us, is ongoing training for department development for employees. With the implementation of all these new technologies, there's a lot of training that goes with that. So this is something that we continue to do. It's very important to us. It's not just to have the technology, but to be able to train the employees of how to use the workflows and how to use the software and whatnot for financials. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to, City Council work plan, revenue enhancements. One part of this was the storm drain fee update. Another item is going to be potentially, we're working through the Finance Subcommittee right now, is to look at potential sales tax item. We're keeping close tabs on what the LA County is going to do, and we're going to have another meeting with the Finance Subcommittee in the next 30 days or so until we potentially bring it back to council for further conversation. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Lisa Jenkins, and I'm your Human Resources Director. For our accomplishments and work plan that I'm presenting this evening, I'm focusing on some issues that Council's been involved with, has directed, and have been a priority focus. As you know, we negotiated a multi-year agreement with our fire association at the very end of the last fiscal year. So we have been implementing those terms. We're currently in agreements with all of our bargaining units, the majority of which expire in the middle of 2025, and the fire agreement expires in the middle of 2026. In alignment with Council's priorities, we are maintaining a focus on public safety recruitment efforts, which I'm guessing you'll hear more about from my colleagues in the public safety departments. Recently, in December, the City Council directed various recruitment and retention incentives with an emphasis on public safety, specifically police hiring, recruitment and hiring, as well as retention. Following that direction from the City Council, we've entered into side letter agreements with all of our bargaining units to implement those efforts. Last fiscal year, we recruited and filled 83 full-time positions. We remain at about 3 to 4 times our historical hiring, and that's a function both of employee turnover as well as newly approved positions, which are focused on core city services and public safety. As the City Council knows, in the 2022-2023 fiscal year, there were 10 new police positions and 3 new fire department positions approved, both sworn and non-sworn for both departments. So we've been working with our partner departments to fill those positions, which involves creating new classifications, recruitment efforts, backgrounds, maintaining our high quality standards as well. I've already talked about the
birthday holiday not make this list?
The development of incentives and strategies to recruit and retain employees, including birthday holiday, which I was at a conference last week, and other agencies are very envious and impressed by the birthday holiday. So kudos to the City Council.
You're not supposed to share, because then they're going to be our competitors.
I know.
I got a free cone.
We wanted to create a little bit of a buzz, though.
Yeah.
So yes, we are continuing to partner not only with our public safety departments, but all of our city departments, and just continuing to brainstorm, and we'll be bringing forward any ideas that we have to council for your consideration as far as how we can remain a competitive edge on our efforts. And I think for council's purposes, those are the key areas to focus on. And unless there's any questions, I will pass the mic to Director Lehman.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Mark Lehman, your Parks and Recreation Director. We have a lot to celebrate this year. It's been a lot of accomplishments. I'd like to thank the team and also all of the commissioners. They've put in lots of work for a lot of these projects, bringing them to City Council. So to highlight a few, of course, the new Marine Avenue turf field replacement looks amazing. The Begg Field refurbishment, all regrading, new turf, new lights, new fencing, and MBMS as well, regrading and new turf. And a lot of new public art. So we've seen from the Bow Bridges mural, John Hammersfeld frieze, the CJ Wrench circles, the art exhibits. So lots and lots of wonderful public art. So a few other accomplishments. The Begg Pool modernization study, as you know, that's moving forward. The next community meeting will be in the council chambers in 2 weeks, on February 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. This will also be on Zoom. And this will be discussing all the community engagement findings and conceptual design options. And we anticipate returning to City Council for consideration in April, on April 16th. And then also, I wanted to highlight and thank you, Councilmember Montgomery, for the 5310 grant. It's been some years in the making, but we are excited for the 2 new dial-a-ride vehicles. They'll be a great addition to the fleet. They're 10 passengers. They're low floor. We'll also have room for 2 wheelchairs. And we anticipate finally getting those vehicles by June of this year.
So let me ask Mark that question. Do we actually put order in?
Yes.
Actually ordered?
Months ago, yes.
Electric or gas, or what were they?
Gas. And we looked into this, and the challenges, the electric is just not there yet in terms of range and technology. And we heard that from multiple agencies, and there were a lot of maintenance issues as well. And so hopefully the next generation, we can consider that the next go-round.
We used the $400K they gave us grant. Difference is what we paid, $26,000.
We still have approximately, I believe, $90,000, and we're looking into potentially, either other transportation or using those funds for maintenance.
Hey, Bruce, it's a good PR thing for Alan to put out there that we actually got the bus that we promised 2019. That the city has no idea. We didn't know that we'd had it, so we could put it out that we're actually using that grant money we got in 2019 for a good cause.
Yeah, you're right. Good PR.
Thank you. Okay, just moving on to the department work plan items. So so quickly run through these. Senior and Scout House, I know Julie from the Friends will plan to be here next week at the council meeting to provide an update. They are currently in the design phase. Cultural library development with LA County Library. I know that exploration for a cultural center and possible makerspace as we receive future council direction on that item. Special event protocols, the enhancements, the Memorial Day celebration options, and Memorial for the Fallen will be returning. Hopefully the Parks and Recreation Commission Ad Hoc Committee will wrap that up this month, and we'll be bringing it to you on March 19th. The public art assessment, RLA is moving forward. They are progressing. They have visited every piece of art. They have photographed it. And so now they are taking time to take a closer look at each of those projects for maintenance and other items, just to make sure that we have a complete assessment of what may be deaccessioned or maintained. Let's see here. North End Surfboard Sculpture, I know we received the update on that. They're still permitting, hopefully in the next few months. And the Parks and Recreation Department Strategic Plan, we're very excited to move forward. I know the Police Department has a wonderful strategic plan in place. We're also working with Paul Connor. We had an initial meeting with the management team. We'll be meeting with the entire Parks and Recreation team in the community, and we hope to bring that draft to you by June of this year. So moving on to the City Council work plan items. The donation policy, I know City Council gave direction for staff to work with the Love MB board. They'll be returning in 6 months with an update with a focus on Begg Pool, and I know City Council allocated $50,000 of startup funds for that project.
Mark, I have just one question to
Yes.
follow up. At the last
council meeting, when we discussed this item, there were two items that were part of that one discussion. One was the donation policy, the other was the nonprofit. And I was just curious, because it's referenced here as the donation policy, is there going to be a further discussion of the donation policy in addition to the nonprofit?
Yes, and thank you for that question. Yes, that will be an updated donation policy will be brought forth to City Council, and also the Public Art Master Plan will be updated, the language to reflect the art donation process, and really updated its 20-year-old document.
Thank you.
But could I follow up, Mr. Mayor? But there's two different things. It's not just art donation. I mean, there's a donation program.
Correct. That's just ancillary. You're correct. It's primarily the donation policy.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So a public art program and future opportunities. So we are bringing forward, the Cultural Arts Commission has been extremely busy. The proposed sculptures, 15 sculptures and locations for City Council consideration, as well as LA versus Hate mural and the Shark mural. And we will be bringing that on March 19th for your consideration. And then a number of other new art initiatives on their work plan. They've got their work cut out for them: art walk, chalk art, surfboards on parade, art vending machine, young at art therapy for older adults. So more to come there. Historic artifacts and the Red House, it's very collaborative. We've been meeting with the Historical Society leadership and HAI. We just met with them last week. And we plan to bring the HAI digitization phase 4 to City Council on March 5th, which will be digitizing newspapers, photographs, documents, and also a part-time archivist, some hours to assist with that process. And then Sand Dune Park Master Plan, second community meeting, incorporating all of the community input, will be held on Saturday, March 9th at 9 to 11 a.m. And of course, we'll be doing all the mailings, all of the marketing material for that, as well as the expanded Polywog Park Dog Run. There's going to be a first community meeting on March 27th, Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. And then the last item here, exploring the repurposing of pay and play. So the Parks and Recreation Commission discussed this for many, many months, and their recommendation is to demo the building, to build a futsal court, which is basically a small soccer court. It could also be used for multi-use. There's strong user group support for this project, and we will be returning to City Council for consideration during the CIP discussion. Again, to explore the aquatic facility, as mentioned, the deliverables will be presented on the April 16th council meeting. Library Commission programs, so the number of updates, so they revised their work plan to include the story walk, library appreciation events, and then a one book, one county program. So the LA County Library surplus recommendations include a speaker series, which would be 4 times a year, a music series, a number of times throughout the year. Again, these would both be facilitated by the county team. The one county, one book program is a countywide program and could include an author kickoff in Manhattan Beach. And then, of course, the historical collection digitization and contract for the archivist. And then the cultural library feasibility, including exploration of a makerspace. The Library Commission would love to assist based on City Council direction. So for all of these, there are some dollar amounts included with those. We will be returning at the March 5th City Council meeting for consideration and direction. And then the last 2 items, Bruce's Beach Art Project. As you know, the APPC asked staff to revise and reissue with a new budget and new RFP parameters. The city team actually just met today on site to discuss that process. The submittals would be run through the Art and Public Places Committee, then the Cultural Arts Commission, and then City Council. Right now, we are looking at an October 2024 timeline to return to City Council with all of the new artwork. And then the last item, as you know, City Council approved 2 events for Juneteenth. Celebration at Bruce's Beach Park on Wednesday, June 19th from 10 to 11 a.m. And then a celebration at Polywog Park on Saturday, June 22nd from 11 to 3 p.m.
Okay. Mark, could I ask you a question about that, please?
Absolutely.
So in the work plan detail on page 27, when you talk about the Juneteenth events, at the bottom of the second paragraph, it says that the City Council approved plans for a Juneteenth ceremony at Bruce's Beach Park on June 19th, just like you said, and at Pollywog Park on June 22nd, as well as Juneteenth events in 2025 and 2026. Did we specify those next 2 years in terms of planning, budgeting?
Because of the donation. The
Oh,
$15,000
because of the donation, because that's going to be
For 3 years.
carried forward? Okay.
And we did receive the check for $45,000, and no finances allocated that year to year, parceled that out.
Okay, great, thank you.
I just have a question, Mr. Mayor, about something else.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just had a question. You mentioned under Library Commission programs or ideas, you mentioned a music series, but you said that was through the county. So is that not, like, our Library Commission's not planning that, like, with the surplus, or like what's?
Correct. And so they've had multiple discussions. And so a lot of these programs, they have the team, the county team to program the music series, the speaker series. And so it made sense for them to program it. The Library Commission is still a part of that, and they still are focused on library appreciation events.
Okay. Thank you.
And,
Elvis has left the building.
and one more question about the Scout House. You say it's in the design phase. Can you
Correct.
give us some timeline on this? Because I've had some older adults ask, and they kind of want to.
Sure, and I know Director Lee can fill in the blanks, but so it looks like design phase is spring 2024, permitting's fall 2024, bid and award would be winter 24-25, groundbreaking spring 2025, construction summer 2026, and closeout end of 2026.
2026 closeout. Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Franklin, members of the City Council, Rachel Johnson, your police chief, and I'm excited to be here with you today to talk about our work plan and also our accomplishments. And I'll just start with the first accomplishment, hiring and recruitment efforts in full swing with 11 full-time employees hired. And I just want to express my gratitude to Director Jenkins and her team, as well as our personnel and training section, to get 11 new full-time employees hired. You know, our full-time complement is about 117 employees, and so that's around 10% of our staff that was hired. So that's quite the accomplishment, quite the feather in our cap, but the credit really goes to our personnel and training team, as well as human resources. As the council knows, getting someone hired to the police department, whether it's a professional staff position or a sworn position, is an unwieldy process with the comprehensive background that the employee and prospective employee has to go through and things like that. So getting all of these hires to the finish line is truly an accomplishment, and I'm just very grateful. Some of these hires include some positions that were authorized by the City Council at the mid-year budget last year to include our police support supervisor, background investigator, and an administrative assistant. And these hires have allowed us to be more efficient and provide better customer service in several areas. With our background investigator, we have a shorter on-ramp to getting folks hired and getting them through the background process. Some improved customer service with our parking and animal control areas through our police support supervisor, and some improved follow-up and communication from our detective bureau through the hiring of an administrative assistant to service our detectives. Also last year, we were able to promote 3 sergeants, which is just a position that's vital to the success of our police department. These supervisors mentor and grow our officers, and really without them, what we do would not be done as well as it is. So we're very grateful, not only for the hiring, but also for the internal elevations we were able to do last year. Moving on to number 2 with our strategic plan, we are now in year 2 of our strategic year plan, and I think we're well over the halfway point in terms of accomplishing our action items. And some of the areas that I want to just highlight for the council where we have made significant progress toward our goals include a community outreach project that will allow us to better identify members of our community who have special needs or memory challenges or other challenges where if we were able to identify that early, such as when we're responding to the call for service or when we see a sticker in their window, our officers could take different precautions and maybe communicate in a different manner that would allow us to rapidly de-escalate situations or provide for more efficient communication with someone who maybe has an auditory processing challenge or things like that. And so I I'm excited about that. That's a brainchild of Captain Enriquez and Lieutenant Kitsios, and Lieutenant Kitsios will be coming before the council just to showcase that product at a council meeting soon. Another action item where we've made some significant strides in our strategic plan includes the area of succession planning. Last year, we hosted several lunch and learn sessions and supervisory training sessions designed to not only prepare our team for movement within our organization or promotional opportunities, but also to enhance their skill set in their current positions. So some of those topics that we've already covered in that series have included the importance of framing the message to get buy-in from your employees, how to answer interview questions, and preparing your interview opener and closer. Some upcoming presentations we have in the next couple of months include a powerful presentations workshop and also a workshop on improving communication skills when testifying in court. Moving on to number 3 on our accomplishments, one of the things that I'm really proud of is our community affairs group. They were fully staffed for the first time last year, for the first time in a long time, to have a sergeant and officer and an office assistant in community affairs. And that really allowed us to do a tremendous amount of community outreach. I'm sure the council recalls all of the alliteration that we did last year: cones with a cop, coffee with a cop, cupcakes with a cop. We're very good at alliteration in the police department, but that's really our community affairs team working really hard for community outreach. But part of that was to revamp our weekly and monthly updates with the goal of making them a little more reader friendly for the average reader so that we could increase our outreach to the community. And we've been able to do that. We now post our weekly and monthly updates on our social media channels. They're also posted on the city's website, and residents can choose to subscribe to them as well, so they don't have to search for them, that those updates would come directly to them. So we're very proud of that, and we're very grateful to Community Affairs for all the work they've done in getting the weekly and monthly to where they are now. We continue to make refinements on the weekly and monthly updates. We get feedback. We try to incorporate it where it makes sense. But we're also looking at some products that we're hoping to launch later in the year that will just increase our outreach and our ability to engage with the community about what's happening in Manhattan Beach. Moving on to our department work plan items. At the very top, it's the top of our mind, and it's our top item, is recruiting and hiring to achieve full staffing levels. We talked about the great work that our team's been able to do with human resources to hire over the last year, and we continue to work towards hiring both full staffing for both our police officers and our professional staff, because the work that our police officers do does not make it across the finish line without the work of our professional staff behind the scenes making that happen. So that will continue to be an area of focus for the police department. I'll group the next two: upgrading our video security system and upgrading our access control system. These are projects that have been in the pipeline a long time, and we're just moving them forward as we can in the process to replace some end-of-life video systems that we have around our station, as well as improve our and streamline our access control system. We will be continuing to work on year 2 of our strategic plan to make sure that we get all of our goals accomplished in that strategic plan. It's very important, as the council is aware, to really make sure we get all those action items completed, as the strategic plan is not only, the things that I think are important as the chief of police, but the things our employees think are important and the things our community think are important as well for the police department. So it's really important for us to make sure that we really deliver on all aspects of our strategic plan because of all the stakeholders involved. We're focusing on augmenting our bike patrol team. I am optimistic that this year we will start to be able to have more full-time bicycle patrol, as long as our staffing and hiring continues to progress as it is. And that's just very exciting for us to have some, it's a fun gig to be on a bicycle, so I'm excited to really get that launched for our team members. We continue to work on our computer-aided dispatch and records management system replacement project. This has been in the works for quite a while, and as we work through this process, we're actually looking at whether or not we need to pivot to a different CAD RMS system based on some troubles we have been having with our RMS and our CAD. So this will probably be an ongoing department work plan item as we kind of seek to resolve these issues either through our current vendor or seeking out another vendor. We have our radio replacement project, which is simply trying to make sure that all of our police radios and antennas have been replaced and are in the optimal places for our users to get the best coverage. And then our final department work plan item is our FUSIS community camera registration project, which is right now in its pilot phase. The FUSIS system is a system that allows us to integrate outside cameras into our system. And so the camera registration project with FUSIS will provide cores to any interested user for a fee. So a business owner or resident could purchase a core, and then with that core, they can choose to share cameras with the police department that we could look at on an ongoing basis. And so we are piloting that right now with a couple of very interested community members to see how the acquisition of the core works, how taking in the video works, and then once we have a good proof of concept, we will be moving toward a more broad community camera registration project using FUSIS. So we're just really excited about that because we can. We talk a lot in this meeting about cameras and around the city, but the fact of the matter is there are a lot of cameras already around the city that belong to our business owners and our residents. So where those folks who want to allow us to use our cameras, we want to leverage that. It's just one more tool in our toolbox when we're looking toward crime prevention or evidence gathering after the fact to be able to use these cameras. And that concludes my department work plan items, and I'll turn it over to the fire chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Excuse me. My name is Mike Lang. I have the honor and privilege of being your fire chief for our department. I'm sorry. So for our accomplishments this year, we had the completion of our Fire Station 2, which we're really proud about, and we're hoping to move in hopefully by the end of this week or early next week.
Amen.
And I would really like to show appreciation to our community development and our public works department, which carried the bulk of that lift on that station completion. We're also proud to say that we are fully staffed with the completion of hiring 3 firefighter paramedics late last year with the extreme help of our our human resource department. So like I said, we're fully staffed for the first time in a long time. We're also awarded our annual $29,000 Beach Cities grant, which covers our nurse educator program. So it's fully funded by that grant. And then this year we implemented a new RMS records management system, which we just put in place late last month for our first phase, and that's going to tie in our incidents with our fire prevention. So it gives us a better picture historically of when we show up to an incident, to a house. And the next phase will be, it's called Community Connect, which it's going to be an interactive with our community that allows you as a resident to enter your personal information. And so when we pull up to your house, we already have that information, who lives there, if there's any medical problems or anything. So it's just a better way we can serve our community. So it's something we're proud about so far this year. I apologize, I'm still got residual COVID from 3 weeks ago, so. Yeah. I don't have COVID, I'm just dealing with the aftermath of it, so sorry. So our work plan items this year are continue with our succession plan. I'm really to look towards and bring our leaders up from within and making our department sustainable to well into the future. So we're doing in-house training with that, sending people to different training classes throughout the region, and just continue to, like I said, develop so we grow our leaders within. Continuing with specialized training with kind of reaching into some of the urban search and rescue, swiftwater rescue out here with the beach rescue, and so on. Keeping up with the EMS, it's ever evolving with new protocols and new procedures, and just keeping up with those. And really leaning into, again, how we can better serve our community with public education and partnering with our Fire Prevention Bureau and our Community Risk Reduction section to do that. And we're really, next fiscal year and begin the last fiscal year of really looking into a wellness program, looking at how we can better serve our firefighters from the beginning of their career to the end of their career, mental health, physical health, and the whole package. And with the end result of taking better care of our firefighters and lowering our work comp numbers. Some other things we're looking at is, and you'll hear a little more about next week, is our alternate delivery models and just looking bigger and outside the box of how we do things and better serving the community and different alternate models. Much like our partners in PD, we're working with RCC on upgrading our CAD system and how we can assist them in better serving our citizens through quicker responses and a better CAD system. We're still in our local hazard mitigation, plan update. It's going really well with very good response from the community on showing up to the meetings, and our emergency manager, she's doing a phenomenal job on that. I'm proud to say that last year was our first time ever we completed all of our state mandates with 100%, and we're well on track of doing that this year. And also proud to say that we are on track to complete our annual business inspections with 100% for the first time.
Wow.
And we don't currently have any council work plan, but we're more than open to any suggestions and working with our partners in our other divisions. That completes my presentation.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. I'm Talene Mirzakhanian, your Community Development Director, and I am pleased to start by sharing some of our department's major accomplishments over the past year. In this past year, our department processed over 260 planning entitlement applications. We've overseen over 2,000 building permits, conducted over 16,000 inspections, issued over 1,000 right-of-way permits, and closed over 1,100 code enforcement cases. The department also obtained certification of the six-cycle housing element from the State Department of Housing and Community Development, which was a multi-year and challenging effort. Other noteworthy accomplishments include completion of the planning entitlement process for the Scout House project and multiple zoning code and local coastal program amendments, two of which were on our city council work plan last year. One of those was the development of the local ordinance addressing Senate Bill 9, and the other was our historic preservation code amendments. Both of those have been completed since. Alongside the City Council directed work plan, the department's work plan items and daily work efforts include but are not limited to processing planning entitlement applications, reviewing building plans, overseeing major development projects, code enforcement, implementation of all climate MB efforts, including development of the city's climate action and adaptation plan, and administration of traffic engineering and parking policies and requests. The department currently has 5 City Council work plan items, which I will walk you through individually. The first is the effort to modernize parking standards. This is an interdivisional effort involving both planning and traffic engineering staff time. The work plan item was derived originally from the Sepulveda Planning Initiative, the review of which spurred City Council's interest in modernizing citywide parking regulations and requirements. Staff is finalizing the municipal code amendments and is aiming to conduct both PPIC and Planning Commission study sessions in the spring. Second is the implementation of new programs outlined in the six-cycle housing element and adjustments to housing-related processes and ordinances required to remain in compliance with state housing legislation. While these efforts are ongoing, as you know, the housing element spurs a planning period of 8 years. Staff is currently working on the first set of code amendments outlined in the housing element and will be presenting them to the Planning Commission in the spring as well. Third is the long-term outdoor dining effort. This is a post-COVID interdepartmental effort to evaluate outdoor dining opportunities in the public right-of-way and is intended to be comprehensive, include broad community engagement, evaluation of fiscal implications, study of alternatives, environmental review, and required permitting. The target due date is third quarter of 2024. Staff will be presenting a detailed staff status update to the City Council at next week's City Council meeting. To date, staff has conducted 9 task force meetings and has conducted a tremendous amount of community outreach with the goal of balancing the desire for outdoor dining with residential quality of life. Fourth is general zoning code cleanup efforts. Title 10 of the Manhattan Beach Municipal Code requires regular maintenance to ensure consistency with building code requirements, as well as other titles of the municipal code. Additionally, many sections in Title 10 are either outdated and require updating, while other sections are poorly written and or unclear, which lead to confusion and miscomprehension among the public as well as the implementers. This effort is ongoing while staff has compiled a long list, I will say, of necessary amendments. Other work plan items and department items have been prioritized ahead of this at this time. Fifth is the Neighborhood Traffic Management Plan effort, which provides a comprehensive process for evaluating potential traffic calming measures in particular sections of town. Its purpose is to mitigate non-local traffic intrusion and excessive speeding, and to improve alternate transportation modes in these areas. The city currently has 3 plans in progress, all of which were initiated as a part of major development projects, and these include the Manhattan Village Shopping Center, Gelson's Market, and Skechers. The Oak Avenue Traffic Management Study will be revisited by PPIC at next week's meeting. This would be the second meeting we're hosting to discuss the Neighborhood Traffic Management Plan for the Oak Avenue neighborhood. This concludes my presentation, and I will pass it on to Director Lee.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Eric Lee, your Public Works Director. I've got 10 accomplishments for you on the slide to highlight a few of them. Obviously, we completed the Peck Reservoir project. I'm very excited about that. One thing we haven't talked too much about is number 5, poles down in District 4 for our undergrounding project. And so that was the 7th district that the city has shepherded with property owner support to get that work done. And the other one I wanted to highlight for you is number 7, improve cleanliness in downtown and North Manhattan Beach. This relates to the insourcing of our pressure washing services starting in the summer and leading into the fall. And we continue to really get great feedback from the community about that effort. This next slide highlights some of our work plan items. I will mention that we've got 135 work plan items in Public Works, and so this is just a little bit of that. And this first one is our capital improvement program implementation. We currently have 84 approved capital improvement projects in the 5-year plan, and so there's a vast amount of investment that this city continues to do into the community, and our department is really excited about that effort. Another one I want to highlight for you is the second one, Senate Bill 1383, state mandated implementation regarding organic waste. This is it's a bill that was passed many years ago. We're in the middle of implementation, and up to this point, there's been a lot of outreach and training towards municipalities and communities about this. And the state is pivoting, and now they're moving towards enforcement. And so this is something that is going to be somewhat of a mountain for us to climb over these next few years. And so we'll be talking more about that with you soon. And then the last one I want to highlight on this list is in the middle, operation of new water treatment plant into operation and increase the use of local groundwater supplies. So as council will recall, along with Peck Reservoir proper, we are building a water treatment plant. We are in the final stages of commissioning that, and we're hoping to have a drinking party in March over there. And so this is going to be the first time in the city's history that we're treating our own groundwater. It's going to improve water quality throughout our system, and it's going to help us be more reliant, self-reliant, and not so dependent on the Colorado River and State Water Project. So very excited about that.
Tell me when the distillery is done.
As it relates to council work plan items, we've got 3. Downtown and North Manhattan Beach beautification. Last year, we completed the slurry seal project up in the Porto area, and we received an APWA award for that. We completed tree lighting enhancements, and believe it or not, a lot of those lights are coming end of life, and we're going to be replacing those, and we're working with the Downtown Association to hopefully expand the footprint of the lights and make sure that they're more weather resistant. As I mentioned, we include improved cleanliness of the business districts with the insourcing of the pressure washing and porter services. We deployed 20 additional big belly trash cans throughout December, and so we're seeing good success in helping just control trash can overflow or prevent that. And we completed our designs for enhancing the planters in downtown, and there's a handful in North Manhattan Beach also. And so the work we're doing in the near term as it relates to that is really in preparation for the summer season. We've got some planners that just get completely beaten by the public. They're in high traffic areas, and we're trying to make those more resilient and keep people out of them. So we're working with the Downtown Association, and that work should be done before Memorial Day. This next one, as it relates to parking meter and kiosk exploration, this was an item that council added last year. And it involves developing a plan to update the city's parking payment infrastructure and consider moving away from single-space meters in appropriate areas. The first step is we completed a parking operations assessment in the fall, and we have dozens of recommendations that are good recommendations for us to really develop a foundation on which we can bring back a program for the council to consider on how we're going to get out of single-space meters where it's strategically acceptable and get into more modern payment methods. And so a lot of the work we're going to be focusing on in the very near term is aligning processes interdepartmentally, making sure that our meter repair folks are talking to the finance folks and the parking enforcement, making sure that we've got good metrics to detect problems. The council will recall about a year ago we had an issue with the sensors, and the sensors were resetting, and we were issuing a lot of parking tickets that people had paid. We now feel like we are connecting the dots, and the people that are monitoring the sensors are also connecting with the parking citation folks. And so work like that is foundational before we can really come back with an enterprise level plan for the council to consider. So that work is upcoming, and our plan is hopefully this time next year we're actually bringing proposals for the council to consider modifying the parking at Metlocks to be what's considered a parking access and revenue control system. So right now we've got kiosks. It's on your honor. You pay for your space, and enforcement is the mechanism that we get people to pay. Rather than having an arm when you drive in there, that you take your ticket, and before you leave, you pay your ticket and leave. And so that's a big effort that we're going to be looking to get towards, and want to make sure we've got a good proposal for the council to consider by the time we get there. And then also non-cash payment methods. Modern payment methods for parking, whether it be by text or other phone or app-based methods, and making sure that whatever technology we're going to be adopting is something that we could really spread over all of our parking lots and not just Metlocks or strategic areas. So that's that one. And then the last one being Lot 3, we've issued an RFP for consulting services to help us redesign what Lot 3 could and should be as far as best use. And looking at this project is probably the last city property in downtown that we'll be developing for many years, making sure to do that right. And so we're working through that now, and we hope to have a contract for the council to consider in the coming months. So we're a little farther behind than we wanted to, but we are still working on that project. And that concludes my presentation, and I'll pass it over to Director Guardado.
So Director Lee, does council, anybody else have a question?
Oh, wait, I'll go ahead.
Okay. With regards to the water treatment plant, what are the tangible benefits that our residents are going to see?
Well, our groundwater has two constituents in it that are problematic for aesthetics and taste, and that's iron and manganese. And so this plant is going to be filtering that out. And so right now, the way we use our groundwater is we combine it, blend it with water from the Colorado River and the State Water Project. And so when you blend it with that already treated water, it dilutes those constituents to a level that the customer is happy with. With the treatment plant, we're going to be able to get rid of those constituents on our own. And if for some reason we got cut off from metropolitan water that we received through West Basin, we would have more self-reliance here. And also, it's going to allow us to pump more water. And so right now, we pay about $1,500 an acre foot for water that we import. When we treat it on our own, we pay about $500. And so it's about $1,000 savings per acre foot. And so it's about, rough math, it's about $1 million a year we can save for the water fund by doing it ourselves. And so there's cost savings and there's community resiliency benefits for that.
Right, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Franklin, members of council. Miguel Bordado, Information and Technology Director. It's an honor to be here with you this evening. I want to highlight some accomplishments from the IT department. Of course, I am new to the department, but I'm super happy of all the work that has been done by my predecessors as I took over. So it's one of the first ones is enterprise storage expansion. I think that this is one of those initiatives that is super critical for our organization as we continue to grow our infrastructure. As our storage needs continue to grow, we need faster, more robust storage to be able to deliver the content that's being stored. This storage expansion also incorporated our backups and some redundancies for our systems, and so I'm happy to say that the first phase of that is complete, and we're utilizing that equipment. Upgrading enterprise the permitting application. So this was an initiative that was done earlier last year. It was basically the upgrade of the EnerGov system and some of the compute and some of the servers and the back end that it does. Super critical because this makes sure that, as Talene said, we're able to process permits and do those types of things on a 24-hour basis. But this enhancement was also critical because it also we were able to design a system that's a little bit more robust and has a lot more redundancy so that we can have a higher uptime on that environment. And then the last one that I'll talk about this evening is, of course, the enhancements to our GIS applications. You know, as we continue to grow as an organization, we want to have that central GIS-centric database that can help not only with like the EnerGov system, but if we ever do computer maintenance system, you know, like for utilities or meters and things of that nature, we want to have that infrastructure in place. So, you know, whenever Director Lee calls me and tells me that he's ready for that, you know, I can say, hey, our back end is ready for that, right? And so these implementations set us up for success in the future with other projects and other initiatives. The department work plan, you know, technology infrastructure and modernization continue to be key. This is super critical so that, you know, we can maintain our systems up 24/7, you know, and not do any disruptions. And so, you know, our key focus is always looking at improving the compute on the servers, the storage, the network, of course, is going to be critical this coming year as we start to take advantage of some of the fiber that we have allocated through our partnerships. You know, we'll be able to push faster speeds through our sites and also create redundancies so that, you know, we have redundant paths for our critical facilities, fire stations, police department, corporation yard, and if a fiber were impacted or cut, the data will just route through another path. So, you know, we're continuing to move forward with those initiatives, and you'll start seeing improvements as we move on. You know, cybersecurity hardening initiatives, super critical to the organization. You know, this is an organization that I know is committed to that just by what I've seen that has already been invested and what continues to be invested. But you know, we can't we cannot not keep doing that. And so I think it's one of the things where, you know, I'll pitch it here, is our best line of defense is our user, right? And so the continued education on cybersecurity, what is a good email, a bad link, things of that nature, will continue to do that because our hardware at the perimeter can only do so much, right? And so again, our last line of defense is our users, and just by the programs that I came into, it shows that that's critical to this organization, and we just need to keep it's moving with it. You know, and our work plan also is the broadcast AV technology replacement RFP, and so that's been an initiative that's been in the works for quite a bit of time. And I'm happy to say that the RFP was released this morning, so it's on the street. So we will be able to now await bids. Hopefully, in the middle of March is when these bids are due back to basically upgrade the not only what you guys have in front of you, but also the back-end equipment that's going to help us do a better broadcast of our meetings, more functionality, high def, things of that nature for our channels and stuff. So, it's where
Exactly.
we are looking, and we're hopeful that we're going to get some quick responses from some of the local organizations that do those in this area, and happy to move with that. And then last but not least, I think the Microsoft 365 deployment and implementation are critical to this organization as well. And I think it's more than just email. It's a collaboration tool. And so I think we have to start. The IT department is currently in the midst of testing in the back end, as some of you already know, but we're getting really close to that deployment. We're just making sure that that everything is in place, and that that once we go live, you guys have access to the mailboxes. But then also, there's a slate of other productivity tools that we want to introduce to the organization for collaboration, project management, things of that nature. And so, just looking at the tools that Microsoft brings, and we already own it, and what could it replace that we're already paying for as well, right? So kind of going through that process, but the team is working on that very, very hard, because we know it's something that needs to be done. And then, while IT does not have a council work plan item, I think what we heard, we're here to support. And, I want to be a trusted advisor and a partner to all my colleagues here with their projects. And so I just want to, our IT department is going to be here to support all those initiatives as we continue to grow and move on. So thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. So,
Okay. Thank you. And by way of next steps, now we get into the portion of the meeting where it's the development. Now that we reviewed every item within this year's fiscal year work plan, now it's time to develop next year's. And so with that being said, unless otherwise directed, all active work plan items that were just discussed will be carried forward unless directed by the City Council. And then is there any consensus for inclusion on next year's City Council work plan for any new items potentially?
We've all got comments, I'm sure.
Okay. So Mayor Pro Tem Haworth?
Well, before I begin my very lengthy list, just kidding, but I wanted to ask if you wanted, do you want us to do it, go by department and each of us take a turn, or should we just should I go through my 6 things, 6 questions? How best should we manage this process?
I think, well, George?
So we do have, last year, if you recall, we had a work plan development document, and I can share the screen here. And that document went on a department basis with respect to the City Council work plan and the department items work plan. I can share that document for you.
I don't.
If you want to go by it on a department basis, but it's also obviously up to the City Council.
Okay, let me start, and if it gets out of hand or confusing, you rein me in or something.
Okay.
Just try that. Okay. So I guess
It's confusing.
So one was a really quick question for Public Works, and it is Director Lee, and that would be, so I understand oh good, you have the microphone, you don't have to, oh, that's great. As we look to replace kind of the parking meter model, and you're trying to develop what is the best replacement, it just hit me, and I'm sure you've already thought of this, do we then, when we take out poles, the parking meters, does that become scrap metal? Do we get money for that? Do we try to monetize that?
Yeah, oftentimes there's a nominal salvage value for that type of metal.
Maybe if we put it at a park, they'll take it and okay, sorry. And then this is both for community development and public works, I think. But so last night, the sustainability, kind of community workshop, it sort of came up about recycling education. And I think it goes along with the state mandates on organic waste. And so I'm hoping that you're considering, how we are going to educate our residents on both the composting or food waste, organic waste, and I think we need to do a little more with education on recycling, because I know that even without and this I don't think is like direction required, but I just would assume that that's something that you're going to be focusing on a little bit.
Very sensible request.
It's sensible, guys.
If I could just add.
Yeah.
Councilmember Haworth, that I mentioned that we're working on the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan,
right,
which includes strategies that the city will have to deploy essentially to get the community engaged, including education on things like recycling, composting, and a myriad of other issues.
Right, and the reason I bring it up, and I'm sure my colleagues understand, this, the state mandate, like you say, they're going to start enforcing this year. We really have to increase the amount of organic waste we recapture or recover, right? Or keep out of the stream, if you will. So it's not just a nice to have, it's like something that we need to do. And are we going to be using PEG funds for the broadcast equipment? Can we use PEG funds for those? Because we must have a bunch.
Yes, we can, yes.
Okay. Two last things. I believe the mayor brought it up a while ago about lithium-ion batteries and their ability to, you went to the mayor's conference, and about how, they can spontaneously, I believe, catch on fire or in different circumstances.
Yeah, when they're charging.
When they're charging, that's what I mean. And so I know that we have had an incident of that because it was an e-bike being charged. Are we considering doing outreach regarding that potential hazard?
Yeah, we're actually working with our communications department as of this morning. In fact, pushing out some information through social media and different aspects of that.
Okay. Then my very last thing, and this would require maybe more discussion by council, but for Director Lehman, has anybody, it's more of a question first, and then we can all discuss it if we want. Somebody came to me recently and said, I think more and more people are playing pickleball, and have we ever considered one of those courts at, I believe, Live Oak, turning into pickleball, because that would become 4 pickleball courts. Of course, I know none of this since I played no sports, but it was a question they had, and then I wanted to ask my colleagues if that was something worth exploring. I know. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but somebody asked me. I'm like, oh, I'll ask. I don't know.
So I think the solution that's been working is those temporary courts. So we have temporary lines, and we have 4 pickleball courts on that tennis court, so it's multi-use. So it seems to work really well. It's a good balance. You have the MBMS courts as well.
Okay, great. I will tell that person who always accosts me on my morning dog walk.
However,
I'm done.
If I may, on that, it is quite dramatic when you see those temporary lines put on there. A tennis court that at most could serve 4 people with doubles, it serves, 16 people playing pickleball.
Yeah.
So, not that I'm advocating Live Oak. Okay, comments? Councilmember Napolitano.
Thank you. Can't wait to hear from the residents about the noise there. Okay, just 3 things here, and I want to be mindful that it's been a very busy couple years for staff, and we need to maintain a very workable. So I would like us to focus on big things and not so much little things. One of those, and a couple of the small things I'd like to wrap up another. So my 3 things, I would like to bring back as part of the downtown dining effort there in the review and all the plans that we're putting together there, a review of the second-story dining rules that we adopted a while back. They were, in my mind, in fact, I think I voted against them, very draconian. And I say that with the thought that we're opening up all these things talking about the street, talking about, I've seen some of the plans, outdoor music and things like that. And yet the outdoor dining on the second floor were just, we made it basically so it would never be done. And I don't think should be our goal when we pass rules to develop things. I think we should try and strike a balance. I think that went to an extreme, so I'd like to include that in the overall review of outdoor dining. The other is, we have an item ongoing that'll be carried forward to do the digitalization of our historic documents and other items, and talk about an assessment of the Little Red House. I just would rather make a more general item there to find or improve new display and storage for our historic collection, for the city's historic collection. It's our history. We need to take care of it. We need to find a place to put it, to store it properly and display it for future generations. So that's one. Then the last one, I would like us to consider hiring or working with an economist, local economist, like we are with some of our other projects, to look at Lot 3, to explore a land lease, to develop a hotel or some other commercial use of that site, and develop the parking that exists there now elsewhere, downtown adjacent. Thank you, Ron.
Great. Councilmember Montgomery?
Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing.
Yep.
On page 23 of 86 there, the Library Commission programs, number 4, it's not a Library Commission book giveaway, it's a city book giveaway. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Councilmember Montgomery.
Ready? All right. Thank you, sir. Let's go back to the easy ones at first. Let's go back. Where's the first one to talk about? The electric chargers. Remember we talked about this before, Bruce? Electric chargers, not just adding, but moving to a fee-based system. I know we talked about it 3 times, but we haven't actually talked about it in full, about moving forward now that we're all set and Public Works has the staff again. To either convert our chargers that are now been free everywhere to a fee-based system.
That's on an upcoming agenda, actually.
You have it?
Yes.
Set. Great. The next one is, I know Director Lee and I talked about the water pumping rights. The mayor asked a good question earlier about what's the difference when you blend the three methods of water coming together, not these constituents word, but the materials he's concerned about. Now that we're getting ready, the treatment plant's going to open up pretty soon. When I get approval from the feds or the state that says we can open in, what, next month? Next month. So we're going to hope sometime in March it opens up. And we should notice that means, so the mayor's question, we can pump more water if we acquire rights from El Segundo or Hermosa or Torrance, whoever, pump our own. What's the difference there? We mentioned not only is it better water, the issues that we have to take care of it, but it lowers our residents' costs and lowers our costs. By using pumping rights they're not using, we do it ourselves. That's the advantage for us. I would add on to his comments earlier about it. But those things are to drive forward. Now that we're getting there, we should drive this forward now. Let's see. The rest of my stuff can wait. It's minor. That's all. Big boys, big questions first, and we'll follow up later. Thank you, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. I didn't push Councilmember Lesser
my button per se, because I think many of the items that I care most about, and actually we all care about, are on upcoming agendas. And as Councilmember Napolitano mentioned, there's been a lot of busy, big projects that staff has been working on, and I look forward to making some policy decisions. My priorities remain public safety and getting some of these long-term projects going and moving and dedicated, which we've really been doing this last year. But let me maybe just follow up, if I could, just one thought that I haven't had a chance really to follow up on with community development. For many years there was a challenge with all of the work with staffing as well as software. And software was a big problem where we repeatedly had to go out to bid. What we got wasn't necessarily what we were looking for. And I'm just wondering, it's not just community development, but are we up to date as far as we need to with a public-facing interface for our software? Or is that something we should begin to think about in terms of making sure that our public can check in on building plans and can engage fully with the Community Development Department?
I'll start with the response, and then I'll pass it on to Miguel in case he wants to add anything. At this point, we are using EnerGov, which I personally believe, and I'll have Miguel chime in, is the best software for permitting that's out there and available. We are one of the cities that is using it in the best way possible to make everything available to the public 24 hours a day. They can submit 24 hours a day. They can check on their permit applications. They can see who's reviewing, email that person directly. It has full access, and people don't have to come in anymore. So we've seen a tremendous decline in the number of people who have to visit the counter and wait in line to get the same service they can get from the comfort of their own homes. We have been attending EnerGov conferences, the IT staff as well as community development staff, and constantly learning about new ways to improve the service we are providing. And then we are making those changes, implementing them, and making them available to the public. Of course, with any new software development, there is a transition time and a learning curve. And we started this in 2020 amidst COVID, and it was a learning curve for staff. It was also a learning curve for the public. And that period of the learning curve has now, it's changed, it's morphed into people being more pleased with the system than anything. So there was a lot of confusion in the beginning, a lot of misunderstanding, and just difficulty in navigating. But we have so many resources available for the public online on how to submit and how to follow through on their permits. And now it's just become an incredibly helpful tool. And we're very happy with, especially with Miguel on board, because he brought with him a lot of experience with EnerGov, and it's helped us tremendously just to improve and make sure it's constantly working effectively. We had a lot of issues with GIS over the past few years, and the collaboration with EnerGov, we've resolved all of those since Miguel has been here. So kudos to Miguel for helping us through those issues. But we are at a place where we're very comfortable with the system, and it's working the way it's supposed to be working.
Great, thank you. Again, I mentioned many of the issues that I'm most concerned about, they are on our upcoming agenda. So Chief Lang, I look forward to the discussion of how we supplement our paramedic program and going forward, how we continue that program. Chief Johnson, I look forward to discussions about, obviously, policing and coverage, and particularly our downtown area, and how we ensure that there's a presence that's felt and that's observed. But we'll be talking about that with upcoming agendas. A quick question for you, Director Lehman, and that has to do with the library surplus. Just to confirm, the Library Commission itself will be making recommendations, and then those recommendations will come to council, including some of the items you just mentioned, which include a speaker series besides the potential cultural library and makerspace?
Yes, correct. They did make recommendations to City Council, and we're planning to bring that on March 5th.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it for now. I could continue to cherry pick, but we're focusing on the work plan, big picture issues. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I've been thinking about these two items I want to talk about, and I think they actually solve each other's problems. So a while back, I talked about bike corrals in downtown, for parking. And so this is essentially on the street, off the curb, building a specific boundary where e-bikes, bikes, micro transportation, scooters, whatever, can park. It gets them off the sidewalk. There's a lot of congestion. We love the fact that people are using e-bikes to get downtown, but parking is an issue. We've got a lot of complaints from the restaurants and the storekeepers about that. So bike corrals, typically where you have a red curb now, where there's not supposed to be any parking, you can go ahead and put in a bike corral, and then residents and visitors can park their bikes there. So that eliminates the ability for a delivery truck to stop where it's not supposed to be stopping, okay? So that takes care of the problem of the truck parking in red zones downtown. And they do it a lot. They seem to be impervious to, parking tickets or whatever. I don't know if they determine it's a cost of business. I understand you can go ahead and, make it a moving violation, and that goes against their license, and then they pay a little bit more attention because now they got points against their license. But that's really getting into the weeds. So, so to look at these bike corrals as a solution to that, solution to allow more parking downtown, reduce congestion, and help, and help the flow of traffic. So I would really like to see something like that from our traffic study people. The other thing is with the older adults programs at Jocelyn, they just did a survey and they got an amazing reviews. I mean, 90% approval of everything that's going on there. But the number one issue that bubbled to the top is parking. And it's a gating factor of people actually coming to Jocelyn Center from everywhere in the city and to be able to find a place to park. So I would kind of like to see what we could do. There are 6 dedicated parking spots that require a senior permit, and I believe the hours are limited between 9 and 5, because that's when most of the programming is there. So if we could find a way to, out on Valley, and those are right adjacent to Jocelyn, on the south side of the building, between Jocelyn and the post office. So to see if we can expand the number of permitted spots, similar permitted spots on Valley, on the diagonal parking there, so that because the older adults are using the Jocelyn Center for programming during the day, it may not be. Now I understand there's folks are using the Tot Park and things like that, but they're a little bit more flexible in terms of parking than older adults. And we want to encourage the use of these facilities because, again, at the mayor's conference, there was a whole segment on loneliness, a loneliness for older adults and how just how hard this is on them. And we want to make that them to be able to come in and to be with other older adults. When we have the Scout House, to interact with the intergenerational aspect of the Scout House. So I'd like to start looking at that, even if it includes restriping the parallel parking on the mostly west side of Valley, and then also on the diagonals that are in, that are on, for want of a better word, the Greenbelt area. So just to see if we could free up more spots. I would also, look at, they're starting to do some weekend programming, is maybe provide some spots over here in the Civic Center parking on weekends, where there could be hours of just dedicated spots for the older adults, because we have the elevator access there. They can simply walk across the street and go to Jocelyn. So just kind of like take a good look at everything there. So that's what I have on my list. So Councilmember Montgomery.
Thank you, sir. Those of you that texted are wondering why we're going through this process. It's not the first time we've done this. No one on this council is new to the process here. We have some newer directors that weren't here at the last time. So a lot of this process may be new to them. It's not anybody here. Not on the dais, definitely not city manager or assistant city manager. We've all gone through it 16 times, each of so many of us. So it's not a wish list, folks. Someone says this is a wish list, not a wish list. It's a work process that we think can make the city better. That can make all of us, our systems work better. Miguel's talking about how to make our systems safe and work better, but The George's comment earlier, they jumped on George's comments about consensus. There's no consensus on anything, folks. We haven't gotten that far. We're just talking. We're putting ideas up. We'll go through like we always do and vote on which ones get put on the work plan, if any, for next year. We talked about accomplishments last year. We'll worry about next year, next time. We're getting all important text. All of you look at your phones.
Amber Alert.
Oh, yeah, it
okay.
felt like that, yeah. It was like
Scared me.
alert. No.
Last time in City Hall was going to have a fire next to it, so that's all I want to say. Make sure the expectations aren't where they are, that we're not consensus on anything yet. We go through the process, we vote on everything, then we go through it, then we'll talk about it as it goes on. But I'll stop right there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Napolitano.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to jump on something that you said, except I'm going to go a step further. And as I see the west side of Valley Drive, I know this is going to upset folks, but again, we're throwing out ideas as to what we could do. I honestly think that with a bit of engineering and, of course, money to do this, we could push the sidewalk and curb farther west because we have space there from the parking lot to the tot lot, because the field is not, the baseball Little League field does not, they have a fence that goes short of what the higher fence is there now. We'd have to put a higher fence. We have to do a lot of things, but you could push it back far enough that you could create angled spots on the west side of Valley from the parking lot to the tot lot that's there now.
From the top part to
From the parking lot to the tot lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You could have angled spots and probably triple the amount of parking that's there on the west side now.
This reminded all the Johnson Favreau plan about shubbing.
Yeah.
I was just about to.
2008, 9, exactly
I
what
know.
they said.
You know, big dreams and plans.
Well, but that also included underground parking.
Underground
though.
parking.
This would not be underground
I
parking.
understand.
Just pushing
But
it west.
I think it's creative.
It's the top part of what they suggested.
Yeah.
Let me ask you.
Take a look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's,
Just a question, if I could, for the Community Development Director. I think there just was an item related to the parking in and around Joslin Center that was reviewed by the Parking Public Improvements Commission, and then there were some recommendations through our traffic engineer, which is why I'm looking to you. And I'm just wondering, would the item then be for consideration for adding to our work plan, exploration of the feasibility of increasing parking proximate to Joslin, which would include angled parking space? I mean, might that be the way to add this to our work plan to be able to explore that?
Whatever gets us there.
Yeah.
Maybe a book, 2009, you can look at.
I have that.
Yes, to answer your question, and I think it ties into something that's already in the works, which is our citywide parking management study. We are in the RFP phase right now, and we're working on the RFP to release it. But I think the results of that study, because it is citywide and it will include that general area, will help us, and then we can take that, and then next step would be developing some plans to see how many more parking spaces we can accommodate. But I will say that in our just very conceptual level analysis during the Scout House project, we do believe that there are opportunities there to capture.
So we'll see those by 2042.
I know. I mean, can I jump in?
I don't want to fold things. That's the hazard. We can put it all together, that's great. I don't think it takes a lot to see, but then we're cherry picking. The whole citywide parking plan, all right, I'll wait, but, there are hot spots. My concern here is that we've got a bunch of seniors who have to cross the street to get into Joslin, and it's a dangerous situation, and it's more important than just the idea of parking. The parking is to solve a public safety issue. It isn't just to create more parking. So at the Coastal Commission, then I won't go there.
and
Go ahead.
can I just make a
Yeah, of course.
and we also discussed to work on a more robust ride-sharing program, amongst the older adults, so that they would combine in a passenger car, not a Uber or anything like that, but that within their own group, they could go ahead and meet up, and one person could bring another person, and just or two, other people and thereby reduce the need for the parking spaces. But, yeah, anything we can do there.
And I just, so we do have to, I think we have to come to some consensus in order to give some direction. I liked both of your ideas that you brought up, Mr. Mayor, but also for what Councilmember Napolitano mentioned, I kind of feel the same way. Like, I get that we're looking at citywide parking management, et cetera, but if we don't ask them or give some direction to consider this, they may never consider it because they would say, well, that's not part of our scope. Our scope is there are X number of spots and you need 17 more. But this is an actual idea. And so that's what I want to be sure gets captured, because sometimes, however that has to happen, but I do think it's possible or a good idea. So I just don't want to lose it.
Councilmember Montgomery?
Your Honor, maybe we just go the old days method. List everything up that I all want to do. We go through them, vote on them, bang, bang, bang. Instead of going left, right, center every time, just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Put them on the vote. If you want to take something off the old work plan, do it. Knock it off. If you want to add something to it, do that. Otherwise, you're going to be here all night talking in circles.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't want to do that.
You don't want to do that?
Well, I wouldn't want to be here all night when, if not, I guess I'm going off the assumption that everyone is supportive of the ideas that have already been thrown out. And I don't remember a couple of them. But if we want to put them up, that's fine
We
too.
see a list of what we're talking about. I have no idea what everybody else
But
is
should
writing
we
down.
come back during a council meeting and do that?
It's your option. We can do
Well,
that.
why don't we try to capture the list right
List
now?
is key. I don't remember everything you talked about and Joe talked about.
Right.
Yeah, we
And
can
I
do-
talked about a few things.
Right, and as George mentioned, we'll be coming back with these items for adoption later on, after staff has an opportunity to flesh them out a little bit. Then you can decide thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yeah, why don't we do it that way?
Yeah. I want to make sure the list is captured, Your Honor. Before we leave, we all see the
Exactly.
same list.
Oh, agree. Agree.
Okay. Anything else?
Actually, I
City
would.
Manager Mo, anything?
I have one follow-up.
Yes.
Because we did hear public comment earlier with regard
Councilmember Lester?
to one member of the public who was concerned about downtown and parking and driveway truck parking. I presume that might be part of the outdoor dining recommendations. Is that correct, Director?
One of the things we will be presenting as a part of our status update next week from the Outdoor Dining Task Force is the recommendation from them that while our long-term vision is being designed and implemented, staff take some time to address some of the issues in downtown right now. Those would include noise issues, refuse issues, as well as vehicle loading issues. And so the commitment would be that once we have the program just generally outlined and our permitting process is going through, we would divert our attention. And again, that would be community development in conjunction with Public Works, in conjunction with the police department, because it is vehicle code at the end of the day as well. So we would collaborate to work on addressing the vehicle loading issues in downtown and in North End as well.
Thank you.
If they can be solved.
Your Honor, just a question. Do you want to
Yes.
see the list before we all leave? Do you want to make sure the list is complete before we go anywhere?
Yes.
Yeah, that's our suggestion. George will read off what was captured tonight, and then we will come back at a future date with those items fleshed out, as well as council can then review the existing work plan items to see what you want removed at that point. So, George?
Yes, council, so some of these items, I should say, it was related to existing items, but I'll try to summarize as best as I can. So one item that was brought up was education on recycling, especially as it relates to organic waste. Obviously, we already have an existing council item, but maybe we can integrate that within the existing one. Secondly was bringing back a review of second-story dining rules. That could be within the outdoor dining item as well, but I just wanted to highlight that one. The digitization of historic records, I think that sounded like more of a refocusing of it and finding and displaying the storage of the records specifically. And additionally, hiring an economist to look at land lease to develop a hotel at Lot 3 was another item. Bike corrals in downtown, the exploration of opportunities to place those. And lastly was the exploring the feasibility and options to increase parking availability adjacent to Jocelyn Community Center. Does that list sound
About right?
Yeah.
like capture it
Yeah.
all? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody was listening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, George.
Okay. So we'll get back to you with a date that will bring this back for further consideration and then adoption. And so I think that concludes the process this evening.
Okay, great. So if there's not any other matter, we'll adjourn this meeting to Tuesday, February 20th at 5 o'clock.
Good job.